Before I read our scripture for today, I want to express my gratefulness for the, what did we call them today? I was going to say freedom stories, stories of grace that we're about to hear from Edith and from Karen. Last week, Mylene introduced the second half of our Exhale series by reminding us that God is faithful in every season. Since the start of this season, we have seen his faithfulness through the stories of Jesus' interactions with Mary, Peter, Jairus and his daughter, and the bleeding woman, all very different people in very different circumstances. Today, we continue to hear stories of God's faithfulness directly from our dear sisters, both created lovingly in God's image with their own uniqueness and giftedness, and both who have received the deep, compassionate grace of God. We get to hear these stories, these women's stories of how, like the bleeding woman reaching out for Jesus, he gave them new life, helped them to know and love him more. And in the telling of their stories, they help us to know and love him more. So thank you, Edith and Karen. And with that, hear the word of the Lord from Psalm 39. You have searched me, Lord, and you know me. You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar with all my ways. Before a word is on my tongue, you, Lord, know it completely. You hem me in behind and before, and you lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too lofty for me to attain. Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. If I rise on the wings of the dawn, if I settle on the far side of the sea, even there your hand will guide me. Your right hand will hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness will hide me and the light become night around me, even the darkness will not be dark to you. The night will shine like the day, for darkness is as light to you. For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place, when I was woven together in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. How precious to me are your thoughts, God. How vast is the sum of them. Were I to count them, they would outnumber the grains of sand. When I awake, I am still with you. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Karen Andrews. And I'd like to share some of God's graces that I've experienced over the past few months. I also have some show and tell. We could do the first slide, I guess. Okay. In early June, I completed a 2-week Camino journey, walking the Portuguese way from Porto, Portugal, to Santiago de Compostela in Galicia, Spain. I'd wanted to walk the Camino for years. Then grief and loss intensified my interest, and I felt called to go. In 2023, my dear friend Caroline suffered a severe stroke and died 2 months later. That same year, my father was diagnosed with cancer and began chemo. And my sister, who has lupus, became seriously ill and nearly died. That year, and the next, several other friends and family members had suffered and died. When my father passed away in January, just a few weeks after I finally settled on a date for my Camino with my two friends, Mary and Elaine, I knew what I wanted to bring with me. Here's the first one of my dad's handkerchiefs. The same one I had held at his memorial service, which I then held at his memorial service in March. And it had been such a comfort to me. I knew I would carry my grief with me along the coasts of Portugal and Galicia. Okay. After having fun as a tourist in Lisbon and Porto with my friends, the first few days on the Camino were hard. We had rain the first day, 16-mile stretches at times. Blisters were forming. The three of us sharing one room and one bathroom. I remember wondering what I had gotten myself into. But those challenging days were forming me into a pilgrim. I wore the pilgrim shell. Actually, I should wear it. I followed the yellow arrows. I checked the maps. I took one step, then the next. Through the daily rhythms of preparation and walking the route, I shed my tourist identity and embraced being a pilgrim who was present and paying attention to what God was showing me. That shift to pilgrim perspective began at the very start at the cathedral in Porto, where we got our credentials and shells and received our first stamp, a small proof from day one that we were pilgrims. We purchased these passports that we need to have stamped all along the route in order to accomplish the goal. So this photo captures a favorite memory from our first day walking after leaving Porto. We stopped at a little church in Via do Conde to find shelter from the rain and to have our passports stamped, the very first one once we started walking. There we met an elderly man who was partially blind, and he worked at the church, and his one job was stamping passports. And he carefully signed it so meticulously. It was really sweet. These are some things that I encountered on my journey. In fact, I had thousands of slides, no worries, I only picked a few for this talk. I was trying to decide what to focus on here. But along the Camino, people leave pebbles and small keepsakes at crosses and stone milestones. I was drawn to this, stone pillars that are milestones. I was drawn to this ritual of releasing burdens and sorrows, or honoring a loss by leaving a memento. Sometimes someone brings things from home, or they find something along the way, and then they set it down and leave it behind. It made me reflect on what I was prepared to release and what I wish to continue carrying. One of the clearest graces I received on the Camino came through a stranger who became a friend. I want to introduce you to Bastian. He was 24, same age as my son Jacob, a recent college graduate traveling from the Netherlands, and we first met on our second day walking the Camino, where he ended up eating dinner at the same restaurant in Benigno. We introduced ourselves. He was a solo traveler, trying to figure out what he wanted to do with his life after college. 2 days later, when our paths crossed again, I was in physical pain from my blisters, and he was in a different kind of pain. He had hoped to meet people along the way, but he was spending too much time alone with his thoughts, experiencing some real mental anguish. He joined us for lunch and the rest of that day's journey, crossing the bay from Portugal to Spain by water taxi and walking around the peninsula all the way to Aguarda. He called the three of us his Camino Council because we had many conversations about what to do with your life after college. I told him we would be his Camino aunties. After that day, we didn't see him again. And later, after we completed the Camino on separate days, he sent me this message. Quote, "I'm glad we met, especially the day we went out for lunch. I was almost ready to give up on the Camino that day, but after our meeting, it gave me the motivation to continue. I might not have finished if I hadn't met you all there," unquote. And I responded truthfully, I had been struggling with painful blisters that day, and I didn't think I could continue. His lively company kept me going, and we helped each other, and it felt like a gift from God. That's the shape grace so often takes, each of us barely holding on, meeting at the exact right moment. Now for some scenery. Traveling at a walking pace, I noticed things I likely would have missed from a car. Sheep on the Portuguese coast, horses grazing in Galicia, roses cascading over walls in medieval towns, the waves crashing and colorful sea glass on the beaches. Over meals, my friends and I often talked about our dear friend Caroline, who wasn't there to walk with us, but was very much with us in memory. More than once, I found myself imagining her as one of the beautiful birds singing nearby. The farther we walked, the more the line between the sacred and the ordinary blurred. Their stone crosses are dotted across Galicia. Many are surrounded by those pebbles and small mementos people had carried and left behind. Everyone we passed, pilgrims and townspeople alike, greeted us with "Buen Camino," and in Portugal, "Bom Camino." The sacred was everywhere if I had the eyes to see it. That feeling came to a point in Mosteiro de Armentieira, a 12th century monastery where we heard Mass sung by the nuns and received the pilgrim's blessing, read aloud in several languages. I'll read the whole thing here. "May the light and love of God bless and guide your steps. May the roads open up to greet you. Open your heart to the silence and save with gratitude the beautiful memories of the good things you have met. May God carry you in his hands to the arms of St. James and Santiago, and may you return home full of light and joy through Jesus Christ our Lord." That really meant a lot to me, because by that stage of our journey, we had weathered blisters, exhaustion, and the friction that comes from 3 people in close quarters on a demanding trip. We were pilgrims. My prayers were part of my walk each day, sometimes a cry for help when I was in pain, and sometimes merely gratitude and wonder at what I was encountering. And as we were approaching the end of our Camino, getting closer to Santiago, I kept stopping at churches along the way to light candles and pray whenever I could. I prayed for people I know and I love who are grieving, and for those who are close to death. One of them was my sister's father-in-law, Ken. I prayed for him, especially on that last day, not knowing how much time he had left. It turns out he died the evening of June 1st, the same day I arrived at my destination. I don't fully understand what to make of that timing, but I felt it as grace, a reminder that the prayers we offer on the Camino, whether in Spain, Portugal, or elsewhere, we reach the same God who's here, present at a hospice bedside here. And that's very comforting to me. So we did arrive in Santiago on June 1st with a mix of emotions, a sense of achievement, and unexpectedly, a touch of sadness. We submitted our stamped credentials, fully filled out, both sides. And I received our Compostelas, and I shed a few tears more as we came to the end of our journey. I didn't yet see it as the beginning of the next chapter. I was just in a state of ending. But as we know, our endings and beginnings are intertwined. We didn't have any rest days on our Camino, and that was partly why it was so demanding. But at the very end, we were able to go, after we completed our journey at Santiago, we left to go to the end of the world, which is called Finisterre, or Fisterra, where the land runs out into the Atlantic. And even there, at the very edge, stood another cross, another stone cross, which reminded me again of God's grace and that the journey continues. And as I reflect on this Camino and its importance, I admit I was the slowest among my friends. I struggled through the first half with painful blisters, yet I could still move and appreciate the beauty around me. The coastlines, historic towns, forests, and wildlife, all the graces of God that I encountered. Yes, I walked to honor my father's life and legacy and Caroline's, and I felt grateful over and over simply to be alive, with a body capable of carrying me forward. Through prayers and imagined conversations, I felt I was granted permission to mourn my losses, refocus on my own life, and listen for what God might be calling me toward in this new season. I still miss my dad, but the ache has softened, and I remember him most days just as I did on the Camino, and I am grateful for God's grace. Thank you.
Cuando leemos el Nuevo Testamento, nos damos cuenta de que cada evangelio, cada carta, terminan con un amén.
When we read in the New Testament, we realize that every gospel and every epistle concludes with an amen,
Dando por terminada la narrativa.
bringing the narrative to a close.
No así el libro de los Hechos.
The book of Acts is different.
Es como si la historia continuara.
It's as if the story continues.
Y la razón es que cada uno de nosotros
It's that the reason is that each of us who has heard the gospel of Jesus Christ,
los que hemos escuchado el Evangelio de Jesucristo, continuamos escribiendo la historia.
continues to write the story.
Y esta es mi historia después de mi conversión.
And this is my story following my conversion.
Llevaba ya un tiempo trabajando en una agencia de cuidados médicos en Ciudad de México.
I had already been working for a medical care agency in Mexico City.
Y al mismo tiempo continuaba mis estudios de administración.
And at the same time, I was continuing my studies in administration.
Por esta razón, tomaba turnos de noche y de día en el verano.
For that reason, I worked night shifts or day during the summer.
En la agencia nos enviaban a hospitales, pero mayormente a los hogares de los pacientes.
The agency used to send us to hospitals, but mostly to patients' homes.
Cierta ocasión me enviaron a un turno de día y al llegar me informaron que habían solicitado a una enfermera con especialidad o estudios de medicina para el turno de noche.
On one occasion, I was sent for a day shift. Upon arrival, I was informed that they had requested a specialized nurse or a medical student for the night shift.
Yo solo era asistente de enfermera. Sin embargo, el hombre me dijo que pasara y mirara los cuidados hacia su esposa. Y si puedes, me dijo, te quedas.
I was only a nursing assistant at the time, yet the man told me to come in and look at the care his wife required, adding that if I was capable of handling it, the job was mine.
Me quedé unas horas y esa misma noche comencé a trabajar por casi 3 años.
I stayed for a few hours, and that very night I began working there, a job that lasted nearly 3 years.
Mi paciente de nombre Aurora se encontraba en estado vegetal.
My patient, Aurora, was in a vegetative state.
Su cuerpo estaba rígido y en posición fetal.
Her body was rigid and in a fetal position.
Se alimentaba por medio de una sonda gástrica y en la garganta tenía una cánula y endocánula por donde le extraíamos líquidos para así facilitar su respiración.
She was fed via a gastric tube and had a trach in her throat so that she could breathe, to facilitate her breathing.
La habitación estaba acondicionada como un cuarto de hospital con todo lo que necesitaba.
The room was set up like a hospital room with everything I needed.
Desde un tanque de oxígeno hasta material de curación.
From an oxygen tank to medical supplies.
Además tenía un televisor y un sofá donde la familia cenaba y pasaban tiempo juntos.
Also had a sofa and a television, and every night the family would gather to have dinner and spend time together.
La familia estaba conformada por Aurora, su esposo, quien era un diplomático alemán, y 2 hijos adolescentes.
The family consisted of Aurora, her husband, who was a German diplomat, and 2 teenage children.
Con el tiempo me dieron la oportunidad de dormir en la habitación de invitados y yo llevaba a los chicos a casa de mis padres algunos fines de semana y temporada de vacaciones.
Over time, the family gave me the opportunity to sleep in the guest room, and I would take the children to my parents' house on some weekends and during holidays.
Siempre di testimonio de mi fe. Siempre di testimonio de mi fe porque el caso de Aurora no era fácil. Algunas veces su corazón latía tan lento que casi se detenía. Las fiebres eran muy altas y se convulsionaba.
I always bore witness to my faith because Aurora's situation was not easy. Sometimes her heart was beating so slowly that it would almost stop, and she would run such high fevers that she would start to convulse.
Tenía permiso de orar y leer las Sagradas Escrituras mientras le daba masajes, porque para este tiempo ya la familia se congregaba en una iglesia evangélica y el pastor lo visitaba con frecuencia.
I had permission to pray and read scriptures while giving her a massage, because by this time, the family had already begun attending an evangelical church, and the pastor visited them frequently.
Cierta noche, mientras la familia estaba reunida, Aurora regresó de su estado vegetal y comenzó a hablar.
One night, while they gathered together, Aurora emerged from her vegetative state and spoke.
Y lejos de haber gozo, fue un caos, porque Aurora acusó al esposo de haber pasado 7 años en estado vegetal por un acto criminal que él había cometido contra ella.
Far from being a joyous occasion, it was chaos, because Aurora accused her husband of having caused her 7-year vegetative state through a criminal act that he committed against her.
Yo estaba siendo testigo y el esposo estaba espantado y furioso. Y fui golpeada con un bat.
I was a witness to the scene, and the husband, terrified and furious, hit me with a bat,
Y me dio patadas
kicked me,
y me amenazó de muerte si hablaba.
and threatened to kill me if I spoke.
Salí del lugar hacia donde vivía en la Ciudad de México.
I left the house and headed to where I lived in Mexico City.
A los pocos días, unos judiciales fueron a la casa de mis padres con mucha violencia.
A few days after the incident, judicial police officers came to my parents' house in the state of Hidalgo to arrest me.
Primero intenté huir a la casa de algunos parientes y me dijeron que me fuera porque no querían problemas.
My mother had warned me, and I wanted to go into hiding in a relative's house in another state, but they wouldn't allow it because they were afraid.
Así que me entregué y fui a la prisión en Barrientos.
So I turned myself in to the police and was taken to prison in Barrientos,
En Tlalnepantla, Estado de México.
in Tlalnepantla, state of Mexico.
Me acusaba de fanatismo religioso
I was accused of religious fanaticism
porque según el hombre yo siempre hablaba de Dios.
because, according to the man, I was always talking about Jesus.
La persona que me fichó me preguntó mi nombre, edad, y cuando me preguntó sobre religión, le dije con toda seguridad.
During the booking process, the man asked me my personal details. One of the questions was about religion, and I answered, I am a Christian for mercy of God.
Soy cristiana por la misericordia. El hombre me dijo que él también era cristiano y que había recibido salvación en la cárcel.
The man told me he was also a Christian and that he had found salvation in prison,
Y trabajaba en la oficina por buena conducta.
and he worked in the office due to good behavior.
Y mencionó que necesitaban a alguien que diera estudios de la Biblia.
And he also mentioned to me that they needed someone to lead Bible studies.
Así que me comuniqué con un pastor que era director de un instituto bíblico para que enviara a algunos jóvenes a dar estudios de la Biblia.
I contacted a pastor who was the director of a Bible institute to have him send some students to help with the Bible studies.
Fue un proceso difícil, Pero en todo este tiempo no me sentí sola, porque tuve la confianza de que 3 grandes estaban conmigo: el Padre, el Hijo y el Espíritu Santo.
It was a very difficult time, but throughout it, there seemed to be 3 great figures there with me: the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit.
Qué privilegio tan grande.
It was a great privilege.
Además, Dios me dio la oportunidad de contar con un gran amigo que ya había pasado por muchos momentos complicados, pero a mayor escala.
Furthermore, God gave me the opportunity to have a great friend who had already gone through a similar situation, but a much grander scale:
Me refiero al apóstol Pablo,
the Apostle Paul.
el mismo Pablo que inspiró al monje agustino Martín Lutero a escribir las 95 tesis y clavarla en la catedral de Wittenberg, Alemania.
He was the very same Paul who inspired the Augustinian monk Martin Luther through the letter to the Romans to write the 95 Theses and nail them to the cathedral in Wittenberg, Germany.
Un 31 de octubre de 1517, en protesta por la venta de indulgencias,
This was,
iniciando así la Reforma Protestante.
this was done October 31st, 1517, in protest against the sale of indulgences. The righteous shall live by faith, in Romans 1:17, thereby initiating the Protestant Reformation.
Y Pablo me dice en Filipenses: regocijaos en el Señor siempre. Otra vez digo, regocijaos.
Philippians 4:4, Paul says, "Rejoice in the Lord always. I will again say, rejoice."
¿De verdad, Pablo? ¿Debo regocijarme? Estoy en una prisión donde hay tantas mujeres que no hay suficientes camas para dormir.
Really, Paul? I'm in prison where there are so many women that there aren't enough beds to sleep on.
Así que me toca dormir en el piso y a veces duermo sentada porque no hay espacio para acostarme.
I have to sleep on the floor, and sometimes I sleep sitting up because there's no room to lie down.
El frío se siente hasta los huesos.
You can feel the cold down to your bones.
A veces consigo unos periódicos y los coloco debajo de mi ropa para no sentir mucho frío.
Sometimes I would get a hold of newspapers and put them under my clothes to relieve the cold.
El agua escasea mucho. Usualmente mojo un trozo de tela para asearme y cuando hay agua, a las 4 de la mañana me doy una ducha de agua fría en 5 minutos.
Water is very scarce. I usually use a little washcloth to clean myself, and when there is some water, like at 4 in the morning, I take a cold shower for about 5 minutes.
Como somos muchas, las raciones de comida son muy pequeñas, frijoles y 2 o 3 tortillas al día.
Because there are so many of us, food is scarce, and we are given small portions, some beans and 2 or 3 tortillas for the day.
Hay un pequeño taller de costura y si los encargados logran vender mis productos, me dan un poco de dinero para comprar jabón, pasta de dientes y papel de baño.
There's a small sewing workshop, and if people in charge manage to sell my products, they give me a little money to buy soap, toothpaste, toilet paper.
Dios me trae a la memoria a Job, quien parece que me dice que recibiremos de Dios lo bueno y lo malo no lo recibiremos.
Suddenly Job comes to mind, saying to me, "What? Shall we receive good from God and not receive the bad?"
Y Job era perfecto, recto, temeroso de Dios y apartado del mal.
Yet Job was perfect, upright, God-fearing, and turned away from evil.
Me siento avergonzada por sus palabras, porque no tengo esas cualidades.
I feel ashamed because I lack those qualities.
Job perdió todo y aún así bendice a Dios.
Job lost everything and still blessed God.
Y tú, Pablo, el más grande misionero de todos los tiempos, estás en prisión y en cadenas y no hay queja en ti.
And what of you, Paul? The greatest missionary of all times lives only for Jesus. You are in prison and in chains, yet you do not complain.
En una carta que escribes a Timoteo, le pides tu capote.
You simply write a letter to Timothy, and at the end, you ask him to bring your cloak.
Tenías frío y puedo entenderte.
You are cold, and I understand.
Por eso Job dijo, yo hablaba lo que no entendía. De oídos te había oído, mas ahora mis ojos te ven.
This is why Job said, I talked about things I did not understand. In the past, I knew only what others had told me, but now I have seen you with my own eyes.
Por eso, Pablo, cuando estabas en prisión y en cadenas, pudiste decir, regocijaos, no en tu situación, regocijaos en el Señor.
That's why Paul, when you were in prison and in chains, you could say, rejoice, not in the situation, but rejoice in the Lord.
Porque en el Señor, cuando somos débiles, entonces somos fuertes.
Because in the Lord, when we are weak, then we are strong.
El tiempo pasa y un día recuerdo las palabras que dijo Pablo a Festo para evitar ser juzgado injustamente en Jerusalén.
Time passes, and one day I remember the words Paul spoke to Festus to avoid being unjustly tried in Jerusalem.
Apelo al César.
I appeal to Caesar.
Señor, ¿quién es mi César? Para Pablo era el emperador romano Nerón. Para mí, el presidente de mi República Mexicana, Carlos Salinas de Gortari.
Lord, who is my Caesar? I asked. For Paul, it was the Roman Emperor Nero. For me, it is the president of the Mexican Republic, Carlos Salinas de Gortari.
Así que le envié una carta anexando documentos de mi situación y al igual que Pablo, recibí una respuesta.
So I sent a letter with the attached documents regarding my situation, just like Paul. I received a response,
Fui liberada.
and I was set free.
Mi mamá me dijo que había llegado una carta de la presidencia
My mom told me that a letter had arrived from the office of the president,
donde la Procuraduría General de Justicia
where the Attorney General's office
me proporcionó ayuda a través de Relaciones Exteriores.
was providing me with assistance to the Ministry of Foreign Relations.
Me dirigí a la Oficina de Relaciones Exteriores
I went to the Office of Foreign Relations,
y me explicaron que había llamado a la embajada alemana
and they explained to me that they had contacted the German embassy
para informar que yo había sido acusada injustamente y sin fundamento,
to report that I had been accused unjustly and baselessly,
porque la detención carecía de base legal.
since the detention lacked any legal justification.
Por lo tanto, se le pedía al diplomático alemán que se retractara y retirara su acusación, o de lo contrario sería deportado del país.
And that the German diplomat was therefore being asked to retract and withdraw his accusation, or else face deportation from the country.
El apóstol Pablo escribió a los corintios, perseguidos, mas no desamparados, derribados, pero no destruidos.
The Apostle Paul in Corinthians wrote, persecuted, but not forsaken, struck down, but not destroyed.
Porque hemos hecho la mejor decisión al confiar nuestras vidas a aquel que nos amó y entregó su vida por nosotros.
Because we made the best decision by entrusting our lives to the one who loved us and gave us his life.
Las promesas que Dios dio en su palabra son para nosotros.
The promises God gave in his word are for us.
No te dejaré,
I will not leave you,
ni te desampararé.
and fear not, I will not depart.
No temas, porque yo estoy contigo.
Fear not, for I am with you.
Porque yo soy tu Dios, quien te sostiene de tu mano derecha y te dice, no temas, yo te ayudo.
For I am the Lord your God, who takes hold of your right hand and says to you, do not fear, I will help you.
Fue casi un año de proceso, pero cada una de sus palabras eran un bálsamo para mi corazón.
It was a process that lasted nearly a year, yet every one of his words was like a balm to my heart.
Continuemos escribiendo la historia y que en cada una de esas historias el nombre de Jesucristo sea glorificado.
Let us continue writing the story, and may the name of Jesus Christ be glorified in each of those stories.
Amén.
Amén.